What's up, all you doodles and doodlers out there, you schemers and dreamers, and welcome back to another episode of Doodle Talk. This is episode 21. We are now officially of age to buy and consume alcohol in the United States of America. So, shots are on me tonight. Yeah, welcome. Have a seat, get comfy. This is probably going to be a pretty short episode. Don't have too much to talk about, and honestly, like, for keeping up with me, things have been going on recently, really not much. Just been kind of grinding, working on some videos, putting out another Pokemon mashup video. Not anything crazy. I'm kind of in a little bit of a middle, like a limbo stage where I have a lot of different things that I'm working on and trying to plan a bunch of things for the next couple months. So don't have too much actual content that I've been posting lately. But yeah, still working on a bunch of stuff, and by the time this comes out, hopefully most of those other things will already be in the works, or one or two of them will hopefully already be done. So yeah, I look forward for some more stuff coming from me, but for now, for this episode, I don't really have too much to talk about. So I just kind of want to jump into the topic of today, which is something I've wanted to talk about for a while. And I wasn't really sure how, and I wasn't really sure if I should, just because this video may not age, like it may age poorly, it may not age that well, where I might look back on this and be like, dang. And the topic I want to talk about is clickbait. So, like, using clickbait, this is probably mostly for YouTube. I think that's where clickbait comes on the strongest and is the most powerful. And it's kind of this thing where I've had this discussion going back and forth in my head of it's like the Dark Knight, where it's like you either, I'm gonna screw this up, it's like you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain, right? I think that's essentially the line. Great line. It's pretty, it's really philosophical and pertains to just about everything in life. And I like to think of clickbait in that way. It's like you either like somehow sneak under the radar without using too much clickbait and become like successful, or achieve what you want to achieve without having to like pander to too much clickbait and stuff like that, or you're grinding and you're trying and you like get desensitized to clickbait enough to the point where you just start using it in your own stuff and become like a super clickbaity, like face kind of like thumbnail kind of YouTuber and stuff. And I just wanted to like talk about it and if for anyone watching or listening, like, get your opinion on what you think. If you're a creator, or even if you're not, even if you're just somebody who watches YouTube, like, does it work? Because that's the thing I've always wondered, right? Does it actually work when you see somebody like then this is the distinction I want to make just up front, right? This is how I'm kind of like thinking of it. There's like really just over the top shitty clickbait where it's just like gotcha. It's like, shitty journalism and stuff, like catchy headlines that have nothing to do with the actual content, or like misleading headlines that basically just get you to click on an article and like whatever half of what they said in the headline isn't true, or is like completely negated by what the actual content of the article is, right? Which I have no respect for that kind of stuff. I really don't. I don't really like that kind of stuff at all, and I actually think it's terrible, and I think it's like just hurts people who are actually trying to do real work, real journalism, real stuff like that. So there's like the shitty gotcha clickbaity stuff, and then there's like attention grabbing and something that makes you stand out form of like clickbait kind of style, right? And it's like, how far on either of the spectrums, like how far on the spectrum towards either of those polar opposites can you go? Like, where's a good spot to be? How much should you like dip your toes into the gotcha style, or like, should you just try and like be the pure artist that's not going to use clickbait and not going to use anything to try and get people's attentions? And I definitely land somewhere in the middle on that. And I just want to preface this by saying, like, I don't think all clickbait in general is terrible, but I do think there are like upsides and downsides. And part of the problem I've been seeing the past couple years is like the zeitgeist of a lot of this is all mostly just YouTube creators. So think of everything I'm saying is going to be basically in the vein of that. People think super clickbaity stuff is the only way to get attention. it becomes part of the zeitgeist. That's what other creators tell like smaller creators than them. And then you just have this chain reaction of everyone just biting each other's styles and stuff like that, or just stealing thumbnails and stuff like that, and just assuming that the only way you can get attention or traffic to your channel is by using clickbaity stuff. And part of it is just because that's what people think is what the only way, and so it just perpetuates this kind of endless cycle of people just getting more and more clickbaity, assuming that that's the only way to do it, right? And because that's what I think about it, and I'm really just not so sure that that's the way. I think there's a healthy level of clickbait that you can use in your thumbnails, in your content, in your promotional stuff, and in your work in general. And I just don't, it's a gray area. There's no cut and dry black and white to this at all. I don't think there ever will be, but I just don't really get it. Because back to my question, right? For anyone listening, I honestly am curious. Do the super duper catchy, clickbaity, oh my gosh, thumbnails and stuff like that, does that work? Does that appeal more to you, make you want to watch that video more? Now, I understand, I'm not just talking about the initial attention grabbing aspect of a big face, a shock face, and he did what? Or it's time to come clean, or lies, something like that, right? I'm not really talking about the initial aspect, but so yeah, it's gonna grab everyone's attention, probably, there's a reason it stands out. There is a part of a truth to why people use that kind of stuff, right? But does it make you want to click on that video and then watch the whole video? That's what I'm really, really curious about, because half the time when I do succumb to being oh, that's interesting, it doesn't seem super shitty, they're not scammy clickbait style, let me click on this. Half the time the video ends up sucking, or I just click out a minute in or something, or it's completely, I was saying with the journalism kind of stuff, it just is completely different from what they made it seem like it was going to be. So then I lose interest immediately and I click out. And I would much rather watch somebody that I already like, or not even that, but something that I see that is just genuine, and maybe it wasn't the first thing that I noticed on the homepage or my feed or whatever, but I just know what the content is going to be, and so I'm more inclined to watch. Now it's hard, right? Because I'm making YouTube videos myself. I'm an artist, and I am over analyzing everything when I'm looking at all this stuff. I'm studying what other people are doing, so it's really hard for me to get the most I'm probably not the general public when it comes to people who are watching YouTube videos. I'm not just a general consumer who doesn't make videos. I've been doing art and music stuff since I was 14, 15. I've been putting myself on social media for basically that whole time as well, and it's hard for me to step back and look at it just as a general consumer, because I'm not a general consumer. So I have to kind of stop myself and take a step back and be this probably is not how 90% of people are thinking about it. But that's not to say that just someone who's not an artist or who is just a general consumer wouldn't notice these things and that it might not bug them. I think it can. That's why I wanted to I initially wasn't, this is not really controversial talking about clickbait stuff, but it is kind of I could be digging myself a hole here by talking about this. I'm not trying to trash anybody either. I'm just curious as to whether it really works and whether it's really something you have to lean on as a crutch, right? Because there are tons of creators, tons of YouTubers and stuff like that. I really love their stuff, and most of them too. It's not all of them, it's not every video, but every now and then I'll see the it's a video where they just go super clickbaity on the title or the thumbnail, and it's just for me, that just turns me off, where I'm just I don't even if I was interested in this video, I'm not gonna watch it. And that's kind of weird, vindictive way to look at it, I guess. But I just get so annoyed when people lean on it so much, where it's because I'm worried, right? The thing I was talking about earlier is the more you perpetuate having to use clickbaity titles and it seeping into the content, of like creating shit content that's just built around a good like thumbnail and video idea without the actual content to back it up. I don't want that to perpetuate the actual like sphere of like creators and artists and stuff like that, right? Because then what people think, younger artists, people who are starting, what they think is like, all I have to do is come up with what is assumedly like a good idea, and I don't have to actually like I don't have to like perform, I don't have to actually like stick the landing, I don't have to actually make good content. As long as I can make it seem appealing and I can get the views and I can get the traffic and, you know, make it like kind of a shock factor to get people to stick through enough duration of the video, then you can just rinse and repeat, keep doing that, and you can, you know, make videos like that for a living. And I don't want to disparage anybody who wants to try something like that, or if you find yourself doing a lot of stuff like that, but it just seems to me that like it can't be the only way, right? Like if you think you have to be clickbaity in order to get content, you're kind of already missing the point. That's the thing I feel here is like, if you make decent videos with like really shit thumbnails and like not thinking about it at all, and you're not trying to like try different things with titles or thumbnails and stuff like that, I don't think that's good either, right? Like I said, there's a middle ground, there's a balance to all of this. But if you're making, you know, decent videos and you're like trying new stuff, you're trying like a few different things, like I said, I think there's a tasteful way to do kind of like clickbaity stuff and like attention grabbing, things that make you stand out, or things that will clearly show the viewer or the spectator like what you're trying to do in that video. And that is going to be just as powerful, or probably just a little bit, may not be as powerful as the super clickbaity stuff, but over time, I think that's going to help you be clear in what you're doing. Because this is the thing too, like you want to be able to show your niche, you want to be able to show what your video is about, you want it to be attention grabbing, you want it to stand out, right? Nothing wrong with that, that's great, that's just marketing 101, that's just like everything nowadays, especially, you know, like you want to grab someone's attention and you want to stand out, that's fine. But the thing is you want to be able to do that with like sustenance, you want to have some substance to your work. And if you just keep creating like cookie cutter clickbaity stuff with no meat to the sandwich, it's just not going to work in the long run, right? And I've seen, it's so hard. This is such a like hard line to walk and like talk about, right? Because it's like, if you see somebody like Mr. Beast who gives really, really great advice, and honestly isn't even the most clickbaity person out there, right? I mean, he's done some super clickbaity stuff. I mean, I originally didn't really like Mr. Beast at all. I didn't really know what he did. Like, I hadn't really watched a lot of his YouTube videos. I just knew that he gave out like shit tons of money to people. And just hearing about it like that and not really consuming any of his content, I was like, that sounds really lame. You're just like, what? Okay, cool. You're giving money to people and like, so what? Like, to me, there's nothing there. It doesn't matter. Like, what? That's like, you're doing challenges and giving people money. Like, that's not really something I want to watch. And sometime last year, I just started like, I found a few of his other videos that I liked, and then I just started like binging all of Mr. Beast's videos. And you can kind of see where it's like, he, you know, it's hard with him too, because he kind of like used some of those tactics before a lot of people too. He was like kind of you don't notice it when you're like retroactively looking at it because everyone's doing it now, but if you can tell, like, oh, you see 3, 4, 5 years back, like some of the things he was doing is like, oh, okay, like he really was like a trendsetter and like paving the way for a lot of these ideas and like trying new things. And some of them were clickbaity and some of them were kind of cheap and cheesy, just giving money away to people. But like seeing his end goal, like where he's at now and like the things he can do and the things he can do for people, like his like charities and like humanitarian projects and helping people and stuff like that, it's just like undeniably pretty amazing. It's like seeing where the end goal is makes you look back at some of that other stuff, and it's really easy to forgive him for doing anything like super clickbaity or like that might have seemed cheesy, you know, for people like me who can be like kind of a stickler. And I don't even like, I would almost consider it like a character flaw maybe, or like not a character flaw, but like, you know, it's like I know it's something that like I can be harsh on things or be a stickler when like looking at media or art and stuff like that, and I can't help it. It's something I'm very open-minded about a lot of things, almost everything, but when it comes to certain things like that, especially when it comes to like art and movies and music and stuff like that, just the voice inside my head can be very critical. I can be a stickler for a lot of things, and I try not to be. And like normally I'll be critical, and then I can like step back afterwards and look at it and be like, why are you thinking that? Why are you assuming this or that? And I'm normally able to like reel myself back, right? So if you don't think like this, if this isn't how you think of anything, if you love Mr. Beast, I mean, sorry, you know, don't want to offend your man there, but this is just how I think about it. So I wanted to that's the only way I can talk about it, right? So you got stuff like that. You got stuff like Mr. Beast, and people see Mr. Beast doing all this stuff, and this is where like, you know, damn, what is it? It's like often imitated but never replicated or something like that, right? That's like the whole thing with Mr. Beast. Everyone jacks all of his ideas, all of his thumbnails, everything like that. They try and do it. Like 2 or 3 people kind of made their own way doing that. I don't really know. I don't follow a lot of those other like big YouTubers like that. But I've just heard about and seen a lot of like other small YouTubers who like, you know, just try and literally like copy paste, do Mr. Beast tactics, and it's like that worked like 4 or 5 years ago for him. It's not going to work for you. And this is another argument that I have saying that like just following the trend of like making super clickbaity thumbnails and content, like you should be able to look at this other stuff that hasn't worked out and like see the trajectory and see that like, first of all, unless you have the content to back it up, I don't think the clickbaity stuff is really going to work out in the end. Unless you're just like, I don't know, unless you're just like maybe some really hot chick that like can start out with some clickbaity stuff, and then I don't know, you know, there's influencers and stuff out there that would just blow your mind with like how many followers and the amount of money they make, and it's like, that's cool, more power to them. But I'm more focused on like the art and creator aspect of it all. And I think it is important because if we were just talking about like random influencers and random people here, like I wouldn't really have a problem with most of it. I would just be kind of annoyed at stuff that just seems really cheesy and is just like clickbaity for no reason. But my whole point here is that I'm worried that like when you convince enough people that you have to do one thing, and it's like ultimately pretty much a negative as far as like, you know, trying to get like real good content, art, stuff like that out on the platform, whether it's Instagram or YouTube or whatever it is, you know, when there's a trend to make things kind of more negative like that, it's all like it's dangerous. It can be kind of, you know, overall a negative impact on all those people and for all the people coming up who think that's the only way. This was the point that I was trying to get at. Like I've seen videos, right, of other YouTubers talking about it where they're like, oh, it's just, you have to do the O face, and like you kind of get used to it, or like desensitized to the fact that you're just like, I don't know, another generic thumbnail with the O face or something like that. I'm sorry to harp on the O face kind of thing, but it's the number one thing that bugs me the most, and it kind of just bums me out when I see YouTubers or creators that I like doing stuff like that, where I know there was another option that they could have done or probably did, and they just went with like the generic like replicated O face with like a tag, like a clickbaity tagline, right? And I just think it's getting a little bit lazy. This is the thing with Mr. Beast too. Like he doesn't do the same thing over and over. He keeps like evolving and pushing it and doing stuff like that. And I think if you just fall into the O face thumbnail kind of pattern of doing things, you're never gonna actually like grow to your full potential, and you're just hurting yourself in the long run. And I know if it works, it works. Like, trust me, I get it. I've been testing out different thumbnails and different stuff like that, trying like, I really want to make the distinction here where like some clickbait is not like the end of the world. It doesn't matter. Like look at Ludwig. Ludwig's a great person where he's like, he does like pretty clickbaity titles and stuff like that, some thumbnails. He even openly admits that he's like, you know, been inspired by XYZ. He like took this creator's idea and put his own spin on it, right? He's very upfront about all of that, which, I mean, like, if you're gonna be doing all this shit, like, as long as you're upfront about it, like, then I still can have respect for you, you know, and I'm not gonna like not watch your content just because you have an O-face thumbnail, right? Like, most of the time, if it's actually a creator that I like I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt every time. It's gonna bug me for like 10 seconds, and then I'm gonna watch the video, and if the video is good, all is forgiven, right? So I want to make that really clear too, is this is not like some hill I'm trying to die on. I don't want to die on this hill. Please do not kill me on this hill. It's just something that a trend I've seen over the past couple of years that I'm a little bit worried about. And I really think there are tasteful ways to kind of use clickbait, use things that are attention grabbing, things that will help you stand out. And I personally think this is the most important one. Things that will like clearly express what kind of content or art or video you're making that will appeal to the person who would want to watch it by seeing that thumbnail. I know that's a mouthful, but that's what I feel is the most important thing, is clickbait for the sake of clickbait and just grabbing shock value attention. I don't think there's inherently any value in that. But if you can be clever and stand out and still grab people's attention and also clearly express what kind of video or content that person is going to see when they click your video, to me, that's just invaluable and is gonna make your channel, your content, whatever, just instantly become a lot more valuable. Now, it's very hard to do that. And if you're finding yourself trying out clickbaity tactics to kind of try and get some initial viewers and stuff like that, don't feel bad. Go for it. You should do whatever you want to do, as long as you're not just like blatantly lying to people and stuff like that, like spreading random misinformation or like not even like that. Like, I'm not talking fake news here. We're not going into fake news. I'm just saying, like, try not to be too blatantly like shitty with your clickbait and stuff like that if you're gonna do it that way. And, you know, I mean, I should probably just stop fucking talking at this point, because I'm just gonna dig myself a hole. Because what the whole point here is, I'm gonna end this now, but I just wanna like kind of reiterate here is like, these are not my 100% like set in stone like opinions on all of this. The only thing I would die on is that I think it's a little bit lazy to do like kind of just the O-face thumbnail for every single fucking video, and not to just try something that's more creative and would probably become like the new trendy thing to do, right? I will totally die on that hill. I will not die on the hill. It is not my 100% set in stone opinion that all clickbait is awful. Some is good, some is important, some you need. Trends happen, things change, social media is ever evolving. If you stay too stuck in your ways, you're just gonna get left in the dust. So I have to keep reminding myself these things. But here's the one thing. I would like to see creators trying to be a little bit more creative and a little bit more genuine, you know, in how they approach some of their tactics when doing marketing or promotion and stuff like that. If you see me doing anything that seems like super shitty clickbaity, feel free to call me out, because that's totally fine too. And, you know, I will be trying different things. I've already been experimenting with a few different styles of thumbnails and how I'm like trying to get these YouTube videos out, because this podcast especially, like, no one really listens to this podcast right now, not a lot of people, and I'm not trying to be like self-indulgent or self-deprecating here, just saying that, like, I can see, trust me, I can see when things aren't working for me and know that I should probably change something, right? I'm obviously aware of that. If you're not sure, I'm completely aware that sometimes if I was maybe a little bit more bold or a little bit more, daring to try something just different, not even just clickbaity, but sometimes if I switch this up, it might work this way, or like if I went a little more clickbaity, I could probably get a little bit more traffic and stuff, right? But I'm just dipping my toes in the water here and there, trying to figure out what works, and just trying to stay on a straight path of like what my moral compass wants me to do and what I'm willing to, like, how far out to that shitty clickbait, end of the spectrum, how far am I willing to go? that still doesn't compromise all of my morals and, you know, artistic integrity, if that's what you want to call it. So yeah, it's not black and white. There's a lot of gray areas. I still love all the creators and artists who do clickbaity stuff, and, you know, I don't blame them. I know sometimes if you think that's the only way, then I totally understand. I just wish we had a little bit more creativity going on with some of that stuff, and I wish the younger and smaller channels of some of these kids would kind of realize that if you can become the trendsetter with your own original ideas, that's going to make you a lot more successful, a lot faster than just blatantly copying people. And let's leave it there before I keep talking shit and get canceled 21 episodes into Doodle Talk. So I hope that was a nice little discussion. If you're watching this, please comment down below. Let me know what you think about this stuff, because I don't really talk about this with a lot of people. So I'm really curious for people who are spectators or artists, like, what do you think? How far should you go? And am I just being like a crotchety old man who's just like talking shit? And should I just get with the times and be a little bit more clickbaity with everything? I don't know. So tell me what you think. But yeah, that's going to be it for this episode of Doodle Talk. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.